Hello parents. This video is for parents, grandparents, expectant parents, and child care providers of children under the age of 2. This is the lesson number 7 in How to Teach Your Baby to Talk Earlier series. And today's lesson is about compressed timelines for milestones. So what milestones are, if you're not familiar with it, are significant events in your child's life that are pretty universal as far as our society goes. So one example would be the first time your baby can lift their head up by themselves. That's a milestone. It indicates that they have sufficient muscle strength and desire to move their head. As many other milestones are intellectual development ones. There are physical development ones, such walking is an obvious one that comes to mind. And one of the things that comes up with milestones is that a lot of parents are understandably concerned about whether or not or when their child will pass that milestone. So the prevailing wisdom at this time and for many years has been that you as the parent simply have to wait. Just wait. Don't do anything. Just wait for your child to pass these milestones. That's bad advice, but it's the common answer and it's accepted as true. And the real problem is that it doesn't work. So as a compressed timeline, you're going to take these milestones and you're going to remove the spaces between them, similar to the radio broadcast that I was talking about, so that your goal as an informed parent will be to help your child reach these milestones sooner by assisting them with those milestones. So one of the examples would be for fine motor skills. As your children are developing, there are gross motor skills for the larger muscles, and there are fine motor skills for the smaller muscles. Your child, your baby, has to learn how to use their body and move it around. And one of the elements that you can help with is showing them how to move it around. So you very gently will be moving, if you very gently decided to take your child's fingers and move them, touching fingertip to fingertip, they can feel the muscle movements even though they couldn't really describe it to you. And so by slowly moving, careful, right? You don't want to hurt them, that's not the point. The point is, as you're moving their muscle, they are feeling the feedback from the motions that you're doing. And they will develop the fine motor skills as they practice them as you move their fingers different ways. This will come about naturally and take some unknown amount of time, or you can speed up the process by giving them something to experience. So I taught myself how to raise one eyebrow 30-something years ago just by moving my eyebrow up and feeling the facial muscles involved, and then practicing recreating that feeling. So now I can raise one eyebrow. Not anything really impressive, but at the time as a teenager I thought it was really interesting how I learned how to do it simply by externally moving it and feeling what muscles are being used. And so the development of fine motor skills, as one example of a milestone for your baby, is something that you can accelerate the time that it takes them to learn that simply by moving their fingers very slowly and giving them something to experience. So, many of the other milestones are mental development ones, such as learning the alphabet, counting, talking, things like that. The things that I'm putting in these videos to tell you that you can give your child that advantage when instead of just waiting for them to figure it out on their own, you present teaching aids to them to help them with it, and more importantly, you accelerate the rate at which these milestones occur. You're shortening the delay between one milestone and the next. So this does not mean and should not be construed to mean that you are pushing your child past their capability. It's not that at all. It's simply you assisting them with the next problem they're facing, because they are trying to reach these milestones because they want to be more like you. They want to be more grown up, and they want to do the things you get to do. Walk around, talk, do what they want. Even as very young infants, they look around and they see things they want to do. And they don't know how to do them yet because they can't communicate to you. They can't move. They can't walk. And so very young babies, you'll see when it gets to something they want to communicate or something they want to do, they'll get all excited and they'll just start shaking. They can move their arms. They can't do too much, but they get very excited. There's something they want or something they want to tell you. And so by increasing their ability to communicate and to learn faster, because it's a guided instruction you'll be providing. You won't just wait for them to figure it out. You'll be teaching them. You already know what they're going to need to learn. You already know what these milestones are. I'll give a listing of them later on. But those are the milestones. Those are the problems that we already know as adults and parents that they're going to face. If we help them learn these things, they can progress through them faster. And the thing that is important about that is the only universal thing we all have and run out of is time. If you do the normal course of action of very little to nothing and let your children just stumble through these learning processes, we don't know how long it's going to take. Nobody knows how long it will take your child to get through all these milestones. But when you provide the instruction and the guidance and the pace at which you will help them to learn these things, they will accelerate right through it, and they will learn better and they will learn faster. And most importantly, they will have the time that they get to now use for learning that are those small pieces of time in between those milestones. So it's like all those seconds that we would pull out of the radio broadcast if we got to keep those on the other side. So if it takes your child from the ages of 4.5 to 5 to learn the alphabet, or if it takes your child from the age of the day they were born to the age of 2 that you're constantly going over the alphabet with them, they're going to get that milestone much sooner with your direct involvement than if you do nothing and wait for somebody else to give them that involvement or for them to just pick it up out of conversations. But every milestone has some preparatory activity that you, as the parent, can get involved with to assist your child in reaching that milestone sooner. The tremendous advantage that this gives you and your child can only be really evaluated when your child is old enough to start going to public school or going to private school, and they start seeing that your child has already mastered all these things that they're just getting ready to teach. And the compressed timeline for milestones doesn't end with childhood. There are milestones that adults go through too or don't go through because they don't have a pace, they don't have anybody mentoring them or teaching them. And you can see people at various stages of development, even as adults, who have not yet mastered that next stage because they're stuck on it. So the whole point about the compressed timeline is that once you're aware that you can influence these milestones and accelerate them, which then gives you time to teach your child other things, you'll see the advantages don't just stop right there. They continue on because now your child has all this time in front of them rather than having it wasted behind them. So if you had everything you knew right now and you learned it 10 years ago, think what you could do with all of that time that you have with this knowledge. In a very similar way, your child, your baby, wants all the knowledge and information it can get and understand as quickly as possible into their lives so that they can use it to make decisions. Now, a 1-year-old decisions aren't very complicated, but because of the accelerated rate of learning, of removing the delay between milestones, it allows them to learn other things faster by the ages of 2, 3, 4, and 5 that some children won't learn even by the age of 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12. One more quick example on that is years ago I was talking to a teacher of 7th grade students, and she was directed to teach them phonics at the age of 12. And I said, why are you teaching it to them at the age of 12 when they needed to learn it at the age of 4? And she said, because if we don't teach them now, then they will never have been taught at all. So better late than never. I said, well, okay, I can see that point. And she agreed with me that they should have been taught before they ever entered the school system. And there are many, many milestones that if your children don't learn them early, they may not learn them at all. And they will lose all the benefits. So put that in your mind and think about it and try to figure out all the things that you want your child to learn and figure out the structure for teaching it to them as early as they can grasp it. Don't have long delays between lessons or milestone experiences. So that's it for this video. I hope you've learned something. I hope it helps you. If you'd like to subscribe, you can hit the subscribe button. And if you have a question or comment, you can go to the video where I try to answer those questions. So thank you very much, and talk to you later.